Divorce happens. In fact, it happens to almost 50% of first marriages. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Divorce Happens, a podcast to educate, inspire, support, and yes, make you laugh through divorce and beyond so that you can start fresh on the next phase of your journey. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh.
You get divorced. You get divorced.
Getting divorced?
I'm getting a divorce.
You're getting a divorce.
Because she's getting a divorce.
So what if I get divorced?
Hello. Welcome to Divorce Happens, the show where we support you before, during, and after divorce with education, inspiration, and a little bit of laughter. Because as we know, divorce happens and then you start fresh. And this is one of my favorite segments we do on this show, which is talking to divorced humans. And today we have Sarah. Sarah, who are you? Where are you calling in from? What do you do? All the things.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Olivia, for having me. My name is Sarah May, and today I'm tuning in from Seattle, which is just temporary. I actually live in a van full-time with my husband, and we travel, full-time. So we're very nomadic, but we're visiting family right now, which is lovely. So it's so nice to be here with you. And I am an author and a healing guide. My memoir is coming out in September. It's called She Journeys, a memoir of heartbreak and homecoming. And in terms of healing work, I do intuitive sessions, Reiki, and I'm a yoga instructor.
Amazing. And I'm so excited for your book to come out. I think it's going to be one of those really important books for women who are going through a life transition and need some guidance and just to know somebody else did it. So you have gotten divorced. You're not currently divorced, I assume, because you live with your husband. But you have gotten divorced. So what are some of the things, what are 3 things that you learned from your divorce that you take with you now?
Yeah, I love that you do this, Olivia. I think it's such a helpful exercise just for anyone to reflect on like, okay, what could I take from that experience, right? Because I'm very much like can we make meaning? Can we have that experience become a lesson?
Absolutely.
And so my whole book was really that process of sifting through and trying to make meaning. And it really helped me crystallize these 3 things that I'll talk about. So the first one is my own strength. I really had no idea how strong I could be until I absolutely had to be. And that's not by choice, right? Like we never want to go through something unimaginable. But until we do, we don't realize what we're capable of and just how resilient we are. So I absolutely learned that I was stronger than the worst things that have ever happened to me, even though it felt like my world was ending. And there were moments where I didn't know if I wanted to live to see another day, to be honest. I did. I found my way through that time. And it really showed me how strong we can be from the inside out and that we have what it takes, even in the darkest, most difficult, tumultuous circumstances.
Absolutely. And I appreciate your honesty and I appreciate you sharing because I do think that unless you've gone through a divorce, you truly don't understand how it's unlike anything else in the world because it really touches every aspect of your life, right? And so I just appreciate your owning up to like the mental health struggles and the hard days because I think so much of our existence as humans, especially women, right, is to be like, I'm fine, it's good, I'm fine. And it's not always fine. So, and we can take that and learn from that. I love that. Okay, what's the second thing you learned?
Yeah, so well said, Olivia. The second would be how to take responsibility. And this one took me a while, but because from the outside looking in, and I really unpack this in my book, it looked like it was all my husband's fault, right? He had an affair. He's the one who lied, right? There was this element of betrayal and emotional abuse. And so for quite a while, I blamed him, right? Like he ruined our marriage. He broke us. He ended our relationship. And it wasn't until I had some significant healing experiences down the road that I realized, there was my own behavior that was contributing to this dysfunction. So I still would categorize myself as at the time severely codependent, and which is its own form of sickness as well, right? And so looking at my own behavior instead of just blaming him and saying, okay, why did I allow what I allowed? Right? Like, what was it in me that felt like I needed him so badly, so desperately that I was willing to take such poor treatment time and time again?
Yeah.
And so there was so much there for me to look at in terms of my own wounds, my own childhood, what had been normalized, what I thought was normal, what I thought was
Mhm.
love, right?
Yep.
And Olivia,
Yep.
you just had the best post about this.
Yep.
And so growing up in a family where you're modeled love is chaos or love is inconsistent. So I just really felt like, oh, this is normal. This is what I know. I never even questioned it,
Yeah.
thinking this man's my soulmate. I'm so happy. This is going to be my forever. Meanwhile, I didn't even know who I was. Right.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so how could I show up in a marriage? Right. And how could this man show up in a marriage with his own wounds? And
Yeah.
so looking back, I just see that we were really children, like playing adults with these
Yeah.
wounds that we had, just thinking we could fix each other, and
Yep.
it's
Yep.
really, for me, it was learning about how to fix myself and be enough for myself before I could
Yeah.
ever be enough for anyone else in a relationship.
I mean, this is a whole episode in itself, right, Sarah? Like,
Totally.
I think for me, and I was in a very similar situation, right? There's emotional abuse and toxicity, and I think we have to unravel this concept of like fault and blame, right? I love that you use the word responsibility, right? And I think once I realized, like, because I did the same thing, right? I was like, oh, he's a villain, he's the bad guy. But once I realized, like, oh shit, this is the stuff I'm going to be taking with me long after the divorce, right? He's
Totally.
gone and now I wanna fall in love again. I'm gonna do the same thing because it's me, right? And
Right.
I grew up in a certain household, and I had all these very codependent, right? Very people pleasing, all of these things. It's like, but for so long, I didn't wanna own up to that because I was afraid, like, I was like, "No, I'm the victim. I was the one that was abused. How could it be my fault?" But it's not about fault or blame, right? It's about what you show up with, and I think that's really nuanced, and it's hard for people to understand, but I appreciate you writing about it in the book and talking about it because I see this, and I say this with love, but there's so many women that jump into relationships right after their divorce. You haven't healed, right? You haven't taken
Totally.
the time. You have to own that responsibility, and I think that's the point of what you're saying, and I love that because it's something that we don't talk about enough in the healing space.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was one of those women, to be honest, who jumped into something and I buried it. I
Yeah,
didn't ever like sit with, I was so ashamed of my divorce. I was a young divorcee. I didn't know how to talk about it and continued with that like victim kind of mindset, right? Like
yeah,
it was all his fault. And until I was ready to really like look at my side of the street, I realized like I had chosen a relationship that couldn't hold space for my healing because I had buried it,
mm,
right? I was the
mm,
one who put up these like no trespass signs. And
yeah,
so that relationship literally couldn't hold space for me to even talk about my past. It was like it didn't exist. But we can't heal if we're pretending that it didn't exist,
that's
right? And so
interesting.
it took me leaving and finally going to therapy and doing my work and, jumping feet first into
Yeah.
healing that, that's what it takes for some of us.
It does, but it's scary, right? And like
Oh,
you said,
so,
like it's
so
not
good.
just about that relationship. It's unpacking who was my mom, who was my dad, what's my relationship with my siblings and my grandparents. And it's like
Right.
everything in your life becomes this like grieving process, right? Like there's
Mhm.
not one safe space except for yourself. And
Right.
that's once you can get there, that like the healing's gelling. Which is
So good.
hard. It's
So
hard.
good.
Okay, Sarah, what was the third thing you learned from your divorce?
The third thing I would say, and this is a tricky one because I think it means different things to different people, but I learned how to forgive and mostly myself, right? Like for a long time, I was really hard on myself for why did I stay so long in a relationship that was like so harmful to me? How did I choose that person? How did I ever think I loved him? Like, how did I make the biggest decision of my life, and end up in such an awful situation? How do I trust myself ever again? There's so much to unpack just with this aspect of self forgiveness. And so that's been a really beautiful journey. And then, the other piece of this is eventually forgiving him, right? And having compassion for his wounds, like we're talking about, that he showed up with, and seeing, you know, the behavior and the why underneath the behavior. instead of just like the villainizing and the blaming and the wrong or the right. Like it's so nuanced, like we're saying, Olivia. And then the third thing would be forgiving the women actually that he cheated on me with. That was huge for me because I had so much animosity towards these women. And I think that's something we don't talk about is that we can often get more angry at the women than we do our own partner. And it's like,
Mm,
wait, what? What's that about? And so, really sitting with that, like, why did I blame them more than I blamed my own husband when I know he's the one who initiated this, pursued this, created this? And so, looking at that anger, at that animosity, and eventually being able to see myself in them, right? And these other women, like, along came someone who ministered to their needs and spoke to their wounds, like just like he had done to me. So how can I not have compassion when I see like we're the same, right? Like we came
mm,
from so much dysfunction and along came this person that we thought would like rescue us and make everything better. And it's so sad because it's such an illusion, right? We are the only ones who can come
mhm,
save us and be the one
mhm.
we need. And so that's been a really beautiful but difficult process, like working through those stages of forgiveness.
Amen, Sarah. That's deep. That is some deep, deep healing that you're doing there.
Mm,
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot to hold and a lot to but I would imagine the lightness it brings to you is monumental.
totally. Because it's something we like, it's like a poison, it's not something we do for them. Like, I've never even told these people I've forgiven them, but it
Right.
was for me because I was harboring this anger and resentment and literally a
Yeah.
poison in my
Yeah.
spirit. And then once I just realized, like, why, you know, who is this serving? What is this doing for me? Like,
Yeah.
oh, that moment changed everything. And I'm not saying it was like a one and done. As we know, there are so many layers to forgiveness. And especially when
Yeah.
there's been trauma, it's so multifaceted. But really, like, I see forgiveness as one of the foundational things that helped me set myself free from the pain of the past.
Yeah, and we can forgive by learning, right? And by becoming. We don't have to forget. We can and I think
No.
writing is a huge part of this, which brings me to your book. So tell us a little bit about your book, when it is coming out, where we can buy it, all the things.
Yeah. So my book comes out September 9th. It's called She Journeys, a memoir of heartbreak and homecoming, and it's available everywhere books are sold. And it tells the story of my first marriage. So I was married 21, very young, and divorced by 24. And so, and the way that everything imploded, I don't know if you can tell from our conversation, but was pretty big and traumatic and dramatic. And yeah, so it goes into my first marriage and everything that unfolded there. And then the 10-year long healing journey that I embarked on in terms of rebuilding my life when everything fell apart. And especially doing that so young, I'm so
Mm,
grateful because it taught me so much. And I was gifted so much in that experience, as painful and difficult as it was. But this book was really, y- you know, deeply healing and incredibly transformative because I had to ask the hardest questions I've ever asked
yeah.
myself and get honest about it all. And so it's
Yep.
deeply vulnerable, it's deeply honest. It's not always flattering, right? Because when you take responsibility, we're like,
Yeah.
I don't love that about myself. But
Yeah.
the way through this is to sit with that and be with that and be like, okay, where does this come from? Can I have compassion for little Sarah, that picked us up when she
Yeah.
was 7, right?
Yep.
So it's been a really beautiful journey of unpacking. And it's my deepest hope and prayer that my book will just speak to women who've gone through something similar, experienced that betrayal or that
Yeah.
pain, or even this concept of losing what we think is our everything and
Mm.
rebuilding from the inside out.
Yeah, and I always say, like, no two divorces are alike and no two healing processes are alike, and it's really important to demonstrate and illustrate the different types of healing processes because your story will inspire and resonate with so many women who need to see that because we need to reframe and shift that narrative around divorce because it really is a rebirth.
Yeah.
And, and I just love that you wrote about that. So we'll put the links in the show notes and go buy the
Thank
book.
you.
So excited for you. So before we let you go, Sarah, if someone's listening to this and they're going through a divorce or considering divorce, which most likely they are because it's called Divorce Happens, what would be some words of encouragement that you could leave them with today?
Yeah, I love this question, Olivia. If I could speak to the me that was going through that, I would just tell that girl that it's going to be okay and it's going to turn out more beautiful than you could imagine. Like you have what it takes. And I want to speak to the hopelessness because it really did feel hopeless in that space. And I couldn't even allow that vision of what life could be on the other side. I was just in it. And so I know that that night feels like it will last forever, but it never does. Never does.
Mm, what wise words. I love it. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you. This was wonderful. Thank you, Olivia. I really appreciate the time and space.
Of course. Divorce Happens is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the only divorce registry platform for everything you need to begin again, including home items, hype team, and everything in between. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh. We're here to support you before, during, and after divorce. Head to freshstartsregistry.com for more info.